The reviewer YouTube needs, the one it deserves. Hey guys, the reviewer here, and today we'll be continuing with our Marvel Cinematic Universe film review. Last week we did Iron Man, so if you haven't watched that, go back and check it out. But today we're going to focus on the second film in the series, The Incredible Hulk. So for those of you who haven't watched the Iron Man video, I'm basically going to break this video down into sections. We're going to focus on a little bit of background about the character, the plot of the film, the cast of the film, and basically my conclusions. If there are any major tweaks or differences between the source material and the films, I'll cover those as well, but that's on a huge priority. So yeah, let's dive right in. The Incredible Hulk actually got its own comic book series in May 1962, which was quite big at the time because a lot of other heroes like Spider-Man, Iron Man and Thor were actually introduced into other comic book lines before they got their own series. Maybe it was because the Hulk wasn't very popular, and because he wasn't introduced into these other comics, that he only lasted 6 issues in his original run, and he was moved over to Tales to Astonish, which was another popular comic book series at the time. But then he got his own series again. I think Tales to Astonish, if my research is correct, actually became the Incredible Hulk comic. So yeah, as one of the founding members of the Avengers, the Hulk has always been... People never know what to make of the Hulk. He tries to do the right thing, but people are still scared of him because he's big, he's green, he's nasty. He's not nasty, he's just very, I suppose, overzealous. He's very destructive. And because he's green and back in the comics, like he doesn't have that verbal communicative capacity that most of the rest of us do. He was seen as kind of an outcast, so most of the time he wanted to just be left alone. Hulk's alter ego is a Dr. Bruce Banner, who's a physicist of sorts. In the origins of the comic, he was helping the US military develop nuclear bombs to help with what they thought would be a nuclear war with Russia at the time. How he got his powers was interesting. He saved a young man who drove out onto the testing zone for the nuclear bomb, pushed him into a bunker so he was safe, but he caught the entire of the nuclear atomic blast. How he didn't die, I have no idea. His body just absorbed that much gamma radiation that he should have died. But in the comics, it was only at night that he became the Hulk, not the "you won't like me if I'm angry" kind of thing we see on the screen and in the comics today. So yeah, that's what all you need to know about the Hulk, really. He's big, he's green, he's hard. You won't like him when he's angry. It's kind of a Superman thing, but with like Bruce Banner's mild-mannered is what I'm trying to say, and the Hulk is the anger that builds up inside him because he's always been a pushover by those stronger than him, by General Ross, who we'll come to in the casting section in a bit. But yeah, he's essentially... The Hulk is Bruce Banner's inner strength, basically made real, made true. So, with that said, let's move on to the plot of the film. Now, I had a weird theory about this. A lot of people... I'm not sure if a lot of people would have picked up on this, but back in 2003, there was a film called Hulk. And it starred Eric Bana as the Hulk. And that was very much an origin story. Excuse me. He got angry and he terrorised a bunch of people. The US government were after him. And it ends up with him leaving the country, like he's hitchhiking down some US highway. And I think that's kind of... The Incredible Hulk, this film that we're discussing, is actually kind of like a half sequel to that, because there is a line, I believe, said by General Ross, played by William Hurt, who we'll cover shortly, actually says he's been hiding for 5 years. So there is actually a 5-year difference between the 2003 Hulk and the 2008 Incredible Hulk. So I don't know if that's what they were thinking, because this film isn't an origin story of sorts. He's already the Hulk. He's already on the run from the government. Yes, you get flashbacks as to how he became the Hulk. And one of the tweaks I'll talk about later, I'll cover it in a little bit more depth then. But basically, in the comics, he absorbed gamma radiation from a nuclear bomb. In these films, he's trying to recreate the super soldier serum that created Captain America, and he thought using gamma radiation would help him do that. So he tested it on himself because he got too excited, basically, and that turned him into the Hulk. So yeah, he's basically in this movie and in pretty much any other Hulk film solo Hulk film you see, he's on the run from the US government who want to capture him, experiment on him, find out what went wrong, make it right. But they don't want to do it like nicely. They don't want to like say, "Oh, you can come and help us, Bruce. You're our friend." They're like, "No, we're going to kill you." So yeah, this film actually shows his fight with Abomination, who's kind of the Hulk's main adversary, I guess, because they are just so similar. Abomination is essentially the Hulk, but a bad guy. Alright, I know the Hulk isn't necessarily a good guy, like Bruce Banner is, but the Hulk necessarily isn't. But yeah, Abomination is just evil through and through. Emil Blonsky, I can't remember which one, is his alter ego, which we will come to, which we'll move on to shortly with the cast. So yeah, that's a little bit about the Hulk. That's the overall plot of the movie. So let's take a look at the characters that brought this film, the actors, that brought this film to life. So Edward Norton plays Bruce Banner in this movie, and I believe it was face cam for the Incredible Hulk, like motion capture and stuff as well. He actually was surprisingly good. Now I've heard he wasn't recalled because he's quite a difficult actor to work with on set. I don't know how much of this is true, and Edward, if you are watching, then comment and let me know if you are difficult to work with or whether everyone's just blowing everything out of proportion. I haven't personally seen him in a lot of other stuff. Edward Norton, I know he has been in other stuff, but he's not a particularly favourite actor of mine. He plays the role of Bruce Banner rather well, the mild-mannered, the calm, the jittery, like the agoraphobic kind of character. He's very recluse, he's very in his own world, in his own shell kind of thing, and he doesn't like to be bothered, mostly because of what would happen if he got too angry. So that's Edward Norton. He plays Bruce Banner rather well. Don't get me wrong, Mark Ruffalo does a better job, but we will get onto Mark Ruffalo when we get to Avengers Assemble, which is the first Avengers movie. So Tim Roth is the next actor on our list. Tim Roth plays Emil Blonsky, and the best part I like about Tim Roth is the fact that he's British. Now, Emil Blonsky, I believe, is Russian in the comics, and I think they make a point of, in the film, about how he was born in Russia, but he spent so much time in England. He was in the British Army, or British Forces, so he's obviously got a British accent. So that's how they cover their tracks in the movie. Tim Roth was in a film called... not a film, he probably has been in a couple of films. I believe it's Lie to Me or Don't Lie to Me. He basically plays a gambling mentalist. He can see people that he can tell when people are lying or when they're telling the truth by body language, tics, and what have you. And he was really, 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 really good in that. I really enjoyed it. It's just nice to see a UK actor in a big blockbuster movie like this. Again, he plays bad guy very well. Apparently, all Americans think that British people are only good for smart-ass psychics or evil people. So, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. He does play it very, very well. But yeah, Tim Roth, good choice. The fight with Abomination, the fight with the Hulk as Abomination is good. Yeah, Tim Roth, ladies and gentlemen, superb. So next one is another Tim Blake Nelson. He plays Dr. Samuel Stearns, who basically tries to help the Hulk get rid of his powers. Basically, they induce in the film they induce him with the same conditions that transform him into the Hulk, but they flip some DNA or some chemicals around that actually take away the cancerous, not the cancerous, sorry, the gamma gene that stops him turning into the Hulk. He plays a good character. I mean, I know he has something more to do with the comics, but I haven't read enough Hulk to find out what. And it's weird, at the end of the obviously if you're a die-hard comic book fan you would know this, but in the actor's like last scene on screen, he's basically been knocked out by Abomination, and Bruce Banner's blood is dripping into a cut on his forehead, and it's kind of making his head pulsate, and you kind of see this half smile like, ooh, I'm being infused with this power. But you never really see it again. Whether they'll bring it back or not is something else entirely. I personally don't think they will. But, yeah, I mean, he does a good job. I mean, he's very much in it for himself, Dr. Samuel Stearns. He's only doing it to get himself noticed, published in science journals or what have you. But, yeah, I mean, for the bit part that he plays, Tim Blake Nelson doesn't do too bad a job at all. So now we come to the secondary. I don't like using the word villain because he technically works for the US government, so I suppose that technically makes him a good guy. But William Hurt plays Thaddeus Ross, or Thunderbolt Ross as he's more commonly known. And he's a general in the US Army who basically gave Banner the green light to do these experiments to make the Hulk, not to make the Hulk, to test the formula to make the serum and stuff. And in the comic, he was obviously the one that brought Banner onto the project to help with the nuclear bomb and stuff. Played by William Hurt. Now again, I discussed this briefly last time. Jeff Bridges, William Hurt has the ability to play the bad guy really, really well. And, alright, Jeff Bridges plays a bigger bad guy in Iron Man than William Hurt does here. He's only trying to fix his mistake to get the Hulk off the streets and nobody else in danger. He goes about it all wrong, but at the end of the day, he is just doing his job. But yes, they both play the bad guy very well, but they also play the gruff good guy rather well, and William Hurt manages to get a balance between the two completely correctly. That was said really wrong. He manages to get a really good balance between playing the evil guy and the evil good guy just doing his job, and the gruff bad good guy who just wants to make everything better for everybody. So yeah, I mean, as acting choices go, certainly not bad. If you can hear my pen clicking, I'm really sorry. I fidget when I'm nervous. Yes, as far as casting goes, I mean, anyone that's in their early 50s has got that gruff. I mean, Jeff Bridges could have done a good job if he wasn't Obadiah Stane in Iron Man. Even somebody like Jeff Daniels, who, he could pull off that kind of character. Somebody who was bigger in the 80s and the early 90s, like an action-y hero kind of thing. But obviously now he's a lot older, so they can't do all the stunts and stuff. So yeah, good choice. The last up, I feel that it's not the weakest casting choice, because I think that was Tim Blake Nelson, but that's only because of the small part he had. Liv Tyler, a daughter of Aerosmith guitarist, what's his name? Steve Tyler. she plays Betty Ross, who in the comics and in the films is, in every iteration of the Hulk that you've read, you've seen, you've watched, you've listened to, she's his main love interest. And that's kind of what happened here. In the comics, because it was a different time, General Ross essentially said, no, you're not going out with Bruce Banner, despite the fact that she was in love with him and he was in love with her and they just wanted to live happily ever after. Excuse me. In the films and in the later iterations of the comics, when it was Bruce Banner working on the super soldier serum rather than nuclear bombs, it's kind of a bit different because obviously it's 21st century. She's a more independent character. So they still love each other, but she's more afraid of what he's become. She's less willing to just go along with it. I mean, she still loves him, and you see that actually conveyed quite well. Liv Tyler plays emotional characters very, 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 very well, and it comes across in the film when they clap eyes on each other for the first time in like 5 years, and she's basically back helping him. She does it because she loves him, not because what she thinks he's doing is right. But yeah, that's the entire cast. I mean, overall, these actors, William Hurt aside, these actors are not as big as the characters that appeared in Iron Man. I mean, they went guns blazing with Iron Man. You've got Robert Downey Jr., Jeff Bridges, Gwyneth Paltrow, Paul Bettany, even though he's only a voice. So yeah, overall, that's pretty much it. I mean, the only tweak they made is obviously they show the difference between how he got his powers how he got his powers from the Marvel Ultimates comic book line point of view rather than the original. So it wasn't a nuclear blast, it was extreme exposure to gamma radiation, which he thought was the key to making the super soldier serum for Captain America. That's the only real tweak. I mean, the fight with Abomination is pretty cool, and the fact that he actually says Hulk, so like when they're fighting, Abomination throws some crappy, horrible line like, "Oh, you're no match for me," and he just goes, and the Hulk shapes Hulk smash, which is obviously his catchphrase. But yeah, I mean, the fight scene's pretty cool. The film on a whole, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. And I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a decent film. It's much, much better than the 2003 version. If you haven't seen the 2003 version, don't bother. That's a pile of shite. Terrible, terrible, terrible film. But it failed. This film, The Incredible Hulk, the only thing that makes it it doesn't make it better, but it's a good thing how they tie it in with Iron Man, because the post-credits scene, which Marvel films and DC films have just taken to going, and Deadpool, which I suppose is Marvel, X-Men, pretty much any superhero movie that's been made since Iron Man, they do bonus scenes. So in Iron Man, it's Nicholas Fury, played by Samuel L. Jackson, coming up to Tony Stark and going, "Oh, we're going to put a team together." And in the post-credit scene of The Incredible Hulk, it's Tony Stark going to General Ross in a bar. "We're putting a team together," and that's how it all knits in nicely. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. It's a good film. It's 90 minutes to 2 hours worth of, it's leave your brain at the door, just watch it, enjoy it, and that's it really. But if it did fail, for me, it failed to live up to the expectations of Iron Man. I mean, this was when, it really started to show that they were onto something. They were building this universe. So yeah, I mean, here's the reviewer's conclusion. The Incredible Hulk smashes onto the silver screen with a rather tame effort, coming in at 6.5 out of 10. It's watchable. It's not one that I'd go out of my way to watch if it was on telly or something. But you know, it's not bad. It's not great. It never will be. And as I say, Mark Ruffalo is a much better Hulk than Edward Norton was. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So that's the Incredible Hulk, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. I am now on Instagram and Twitter underneath. Oh god, I think it's the Hubster Reviews. If you type that into Instagram and Twitter, that will take you to my page. If you give me a follow, or if you give me a follow, that'd be great on both. Like, comment, subscribe down below. Tell me what you think, where I can improve, what I shouldn't do, what I could do. And that'd be it. So thanks, guys. Thanks for listening to the reviewer's Incredible Hulk review. And we will see you guys next time. Cheers. Bye.